Hmm. Good day, everyone. This is Coach Paula. Welcome to Titration Talks for November 2025. We are at the intersection of evaluate and intention. And so we are continuing our walkthrough of Live in 25, where every quarter we focus on a given letter. We did live, L was learn, I was ignite, V was velocity, and E, the fourth quarter of this year, is evaluate. And so each month in each quarter, we cycle through my coaching methodology known as AIM, where we focus on awareness, intention, and momentum. So last month we did evaluate your awareness. This month we're doing evaluating your intention. And then we'll close out the year in December with evaluating your momentum. And so I am going to present our lesson on today. And so let me prepare that for us. Should be very interesting. And let me, oops, there we go. Present full screen. Guys should be able to see that now. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So like I said, we are talking about evaluating our intention, and the focus is aligned, not busy. And so that's the key point. We don't want to just be doing things willy-nilly or without any focus or without any strategy. But we want to make sure that what we're doing is aligned ultimately to our purpose, to our goals, and to our plans. And so I'd like for us to step through that. We're going to talk about aligned, not busy, measuring your motive in a busy world. So let's talk about this first and foremost. I'm going to ask the question, are you aligned or are you busy? I think this is key because anybody that knows Coach Paula, they know I don't like to use the word busy. I love acronyms. And for me, busy means burden under Satan or someone's yoke, right? And so I don't like that concept of, being busy and being burdened under Satan's yoke or someone's yoke. And so for me, busyness, it feels productive, but it's not really productive. Alignment is when we are productive. I'm a woman of faith, and the Bible says to be fruitful and to multiply. So busyness has a sense of idleness and futility associated with it for me. And so as a result, I like to be productive. Some days I'm more productive than others, but I like to focus on the concept of being productive. And so every movement that we make is driven by a motive. Our motives and intent are so significant. It's so important to know what motivates us and why we're doing what we're doing. So motive and intent is significant. And so as a result, every movement that we do is driven by that motive. And so movement without intention, quite honestly, that quickly becomes performance. And we're not here to perform. We're here to produce. And so I like acronyms. You guys know that. And so motive means movement originates through intention, values, and energy. MOTIVE. Movement originates through intention, values, and energy. So, what you intend to do, what is on your heart, your mind, your purpose, your plan, your values, what's important to you, and what is significant in your perspective, and then your energy. Where are you leaning your resources, your time, your treasure, your talent? All of that ultimately ties into motive. And so for us, we want to release the pressure to do more. It's not about doing more because most of us are already doing a lot. So we really don't need to do more. We actually need to do from purpose, from intentionality, from alignment, and not from pressure. So let's step through this. So evaluate intention. That is our focus this month in PH Academy. And anytime we have intentions or anytime we focus on intention within the Academy, we always do a framework. Each month, our students have a deliverable. And that deliverable is based on what we're focusing on. So when we're focusing on awareness, we create a profile. We become aware and we profile what our awareness is that we have learned. When we're doing momentum, we create a blueprint because momentum is all about movement, and the blueprint helps you to see and know where you're going. But when we're doing intention, we focus on a framework. And so this month's deliverable within PH Academy is evaluating our intention and what does the framework of that look like? Well, foundationally, that's based on three key questions. Number one, why am I doing this? At a very basic level. Why? You've got to assess, why am I doing this? Number two, does it still matter? Because sometimes we can start off with things with the best intentions and the best circumstances and situations, and things change over time. So that's why it's always important to continually reevaluate and reassess. And then thirdly, is this movement fueled by purpose or performance? Sometimes we just want to be seen, or sometimes we just want to make the appearance of it looking like we're active or we're supportive or we're doing what we need to do. And it really might not be tied to our purpose, might not be tied to our true heart and mind. And so we have to be honest, open, and transparent, hot, and evaluate these things. Is this movement fueled by purpose or performance? This is the framework that we use to evaluate our intention. And so with our intention, we have some anchor words. And these anchor words were shared during this month's buffer zone. If you're not familiar, buffer zone is a approximately 7-minute segment, comes for weekly instruction, where we focus on a particular word that's relevant to the topic that we're studying that month. And we step through that word. We have some activation cues, we have some micro teaching, and we have some assessment around it. And so for the month of Evaluate Intention, or that module, we had these 4 anchor words. Now, generally, buffer zone is designed to start on Sundays. And so there are 5 Sundays in the month of November. And so I didn't put the 5th word on here because the 5th one was really just celebrating. Like, let's celebrate how well we applied that this month. And so I didn't put that here because the 4 words were really the heart of the teaching. And so I'd like to step through these 4 words that we shared in the buffer zone. Now, I'm not giving you the full teaching from the 7 minutes because we did 7 minutes on each one, but I just want to highlight kind of what that anchor word means. And as a PH Academy student, you can certainly have access to the full teaching associated with each of these words. But anchor word 1 is audit. Take an audit. Like, I'm not talking about the IRS, not anything that's scary or anything like that, but an audit is very important because it's all about assessing. And with an audit, we are checking the truth, not the story. Because there are some things that we tell ourselves that, if we're honest, they're really not truth. But we tell ourselves certain things, and after a while, we kind of start believing the lie, or we start drinking the Kool-Aid and buying into things that are really not 100% truthful. And so with our intention, we got to take an audit and really be honest, open, and transparent, and assess, where is the truth? Where is the lie? Not the story that we've told ourselves. The second anchor word is motive. Now, I already talked about motive before and kind of briefly gave you my working definition of that based on an acronym. But at the end of the day, motive is simply what is driving the action. What's behind all of this? We talked earlier, is it about being seen, or is it really about a heart posture? And so getting ultimately to motives and intent will really explain the heart of a matter. And so that is extremely important when it comes to intention. The third anchor word is discern. Now, I'm not trying to tell you to be a prophet or anything like that, but discern or discernment is extremely important because we need to assess, is this God-led or is this guilt-led? Because sometimes we can be drawn into things, or people can guilt us into doing things that are really not where we're supposed to be and really not what we're supposed to be doing. Ultimately, the things that we're supposed to be doing should be tied to our God-given purpose and the plan that He has for each and every one of us, not be driven by guilt. I started talking about this earlier in the year, talking about I wanted my life to be driven by my inward intuition and not by outward obligation. I'll say that again. I want my life to be driven by my inward intuitions and not by outward obligations. People are thrusting upon me things that I need to do, or they feel that I need to do, and that they want for me to do, but it might not align with what I feel that I need to do. And so I need to let my inward intuitions and my inward intention drive what I'm doing and not an outward obligation. Poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. And then the fourth anchor word is filter. And we're going to step through a tool with the filter. So I won't go too much into detail on that here. But a filter is something that protects, right? You think about that. A filter is something that, you know, makes sure that things don't pass through that should not pass through, right? We think about our heating systems, they have filters. I don't change mine often enough in my heating system, but I should. Our cars have filters, air filters, and different things to make sure things don't pass through. And I think I had shared on one of the buffer zones, my dad used to have issues with blood clots, and he would get blood clots in his lower extremities. And those blood clots ultimately many times would travel to his heart and lungs, and he would have to, take blood thinners and different things to try to dissolve that blood clot so that it would not have damage to his heart or lungs. At some point, though, his physicians decided to put a filter in his lower abdomen so that as the blood was traveling, it couldn't pass through and then cause the damage to the heart. So filters are important. They help to protect and help to preserve. And so there's a tool we're going to walk through with a filter. And so with our intentional anchor words, we're asking, does it pass through your AIM assessment? What is AIM? I'm so glad you asked. AIM is awareness, intention, and momentum. That is what we constantly use to assess what it is that we're doing. I learned something through awareness. And once I become aware of it, I set an intention around it. And yes, doing nothing is something. I set an intention around it. Do I want to change it? Do I want to keep it? What do I want to do with it? I set that intention, and then I have a momentum because I create, build, and maintain momentum around what I intended to do. But guess what? It doesn't stop there. It's cyclical in nature and it recycles because as I'm building and maintaining momentum, I start learning some new things and I become aware again. Then that awareness promotes intention, momentum, and so forth and so on. So these anchor words are significant as we're looking at evaluating our intention: audit, motive, discern, and filter. And then once you get through these four, then you can celebrate, right? Even though it's not on the screen, you can celebrate because you honored what you said you were going to do and what you said you were not going to do. So there's some tools. Coach Paula firmly believes in tools and practical things to help you to walk this out. And so I have 3 tools that I'm going to reference here in this teaching. These tools are used to help you evaluate and to realign your intentions in real time. This isn't something where you got to study it for months. No, these things are things that you can apply in the moment to help you to align and to assess your intention. Tool number 1 is the Align filter. And this filter was associated with the blog this month, the pH Balance blog on my website, paulahollis.com. And we talked about the Align filter. We talked about things that were necessary, things that were unnecessary. And so this Align filter has 5 questions that are practical to help you evaluate what it is that you're trying to do. And that was the gift offer on my site this month. And so I do have that available for you as well if you are interested. The second tool is 7 levels of why. I think it's Tony Robbins and a few others have done some derivatives of this. But this is where you repeatedly ask yourself why. It's almost like being a 2-year-old child. Why? 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 You ask yourself that 7 times for every reason to ultimately get to the true motive and the intent. Now, you might hit it around question 4. But for most of us, we start off with some superficial answers, and then maybe around answer 5 or 6, we start stepping into the real heart of why we're doing things. So 7 is probably my favorite number. It's a number of perfection and completion. And so we ask ourselves 7 whys ultimately to get to our motives and intent. And then the third tool is called PIE. This is one of the assessments that I've developed This is where you look at your purpose, your intention, and your energy. It can be very sweet to affirm your purpose, to analyze your intentions, and also to analyze your energy. Okay, so let's step through this. So here's that audit filter tool. It's all about ALIGN, aim, load, intention, gain, and next. And so, how do you practically use this tool? Well, you first start with aim, that awareness, intention, and momentum. Does it serve my current aim right now? Like if I'm working on my budget, somebody asking me to go on a vacation might not be the right thing right now because it doesn't align with what I'm trying to do. Now, if we're going to do a staycation and create something that's budget friendly, that's something different. But me taking a trip across the world or, a cruise or something like that, as much as I might want to do it, it may not serve my current aim. Look at the load. Do I really have capacity? The time, the energy, the money right now to do this. I may want to do it, but I just might not have the bandwidth. That takes honest reflection to really know if your load can sustain. And that helps with your filter to determine whether or not you should do it. I is intention. And this needed a special call out, not just the aim portion of intention, but this needed a specific call out because this is really getting at, is my motive purpose, not performance or approval? There's a passage in the Bible where it talks about doing things to be seen of men. And you're going to have your reward when you do that. But when you do things unto the Father, He's the one ultimately that rewards you. Those things, even that you do in secret, He will reward you openly. And so there are some people, like sometimes, you see people doing photo ops. They may be volunteering at a soup kitchen, or they may be doing something. Why you got to do a photo op volunteering at the soup kitchen? I mean, is that really necessary if you're just doing it out of the goodness of your heart? Or are you doing it? Yeah, not to say that your heart might not be in it, but why does there have to be a photo op associated with it? So this intention really gets at the why of why you're doing things. And so it needed its own special call out so that you can filter it as you're auditing what you should be doing. G is gain. What specific outcome will this create now? Is there some benefit? Not that we do things like tick for tack, but really, is there some kind of benefit even for others or even for myself in doing this? Like what is going to be gained? What is the specific outcome that we're trying to achieve in this process? You've got to assess that. You've got to be honest about that. And then lastly, N is next. Is the next tiny step crystal clear? Because somebody might come to you with an opportunity, but if it's not clear what I'm supposed to do or how I'm supposed to navigate, that's not helpful because that's going to cause confusion. Like, what is it that I'm supposed to do and how am I supposed to navigate this? So then once you've gone through these 5 questions, you get to make a decision. And so you can use this align filter before your next yes. Don't just say yes to everything. And so you're going to pause and you're going to ask align. And we got some green light, some yellow light, and some red light here. At the end of the day, if you get 4 or 5 of these, when you go through the align filter and you're getting yeses, 4 or 5 of these are good, then that's a thumbs up. That's a green light. Let's go. If you get 3 maybes, do I have the capacity? Maybe. Is it clear what I'm supposed to do? No, it's maybe clear, but not really. Whatever that is, if you get 3 maybes, then maybe you need to pause and clarify. It may flip and become a yes, or once that clarity comes, it may become a no. But 3 maybes, pause and clarify. And then lastly, if you have, two, if you have the 2, only 2 yeses, like only 2 things are hard yeses, that's not enough. That's not sufficient to convince you to do it. That's 40%. So that's a no. If only 2 things are a hard yes, then that's a no. So this audit filter tool is something you can easily and quickly apply. And hopefully this is something you will use in your life practice. The second tool, the 7 levels of why. This is pretty straightforward. If you have a decision or a commitment or some type of behavior that you're exploring, ask yourself, why is that important to me? And why is that important to me? And why is that important to me? And you go through this exercise a good 7 times, right? And so for me, I think it's helpful to apply this in real time. And so I want to kind of step through this with you guys with a real example. So as I go through these, I want to give you a real life example that we can apply to look at these. So as I explain them, I'll walk you back through them and apply them with a given scenario. Okay. And so 7 levels of why, this tool for finding the root cause of the problem, you're going to ask yourself that why 7 times. Okay. And the last one is pie. Pie, pie, pie. That sweet little dessert that we love to eat. So pie, we're going to reflectively evaluate our purpose. We're going to look at our intention, and we're going to look at the energy. And so you're going to ask yourself 3 key questions. And we're going to say, for purpose, why am I doing this at all? Like, for real. Like, why am I doing this? Like, what value is there add in this? And what significance is there for me in doing this, right? Then you're going to look at your intention. What outcome do I want this to produce? Because at the end of the day, remember, we're not simply being busy. We're being aligned. We want to make sure that ultimately some type of productivity, some type of intention, some type of product, something that is tangible and meaningful comes out of what it is that we're doing. We're not just out here just willy-nilly, just doing any old thing. We need to have intentionality and purpose in what we're doing. And then third is energy. Is this action aligned with my current capacity? Because if it drains you, it's not going to sustain you. And so it's extremely important that we put our energy is limited. It's like time. It's a resource that you need to use wisely because you don't have a lot of it. There's only 24 hours in a day. We need to rest a good number of those hours. I mean, I know, Coach Paula, I don't sleep enough. If I'm honest, I don't sleep enough. But we do have to monitor and evaluate our energy levels. So yeah, that's very, very important. All right, so I'm going to take these 3 examples. I'm going to step back and I'm going to use a simple example that comes up oftentimes in life, and I'll step through these filters and examine how useful this can be. So let's just say I was recently invited to make a commitment, right? That's going to take some of my time, something good, something very meaningful, very helpful to others, but it's something that I really kind of know it's not going to fit my aim for the month. I don't have the capacity for it, different things. So I want you to kind of think of your own version of this moment. So saying yes when you should have said no, like a scenario in your life where you're currently saying yes where you should have said no. Maybe taking on more where you were already kind of at capacity, or doing something out of guilt instead of alignment. So as I'm walking through this practical example in my life, hopefully you can be walking through that in yours as well. So aim. They asked me to do this, they wanted me to do it. And so does this serve my aim right now? No. For the month of November, for instance, I'm all about, restoration, focusing, trying to finish. This is a very emotionally weighty month for me. This is the month that my husband and my sister passed away, 6 days apart. It'll be 4 years this month. And so my capacity this month is not taking on more than what I can and being emotionally present with myself. So my aim was no, me doing this assignment doesn't take on or doesn't support my current aim. Do I have the true capacity? No, I don't. And so my schedules were already pretty full. I need to incorporate in my self-care, my soul care. So no, from a load, it was a no. There's 2 no's right there. Intention. What is my motive? Is it purpose or performance? Well, it was more about obligation. It wasn't really purpose, and it really wasn't performance. But in some sense, it kind of is performance because I really didn't want to disappoint anyone. But again, I can't be moved by outward obligation, but more from my inward intention and intuition. So that's kind of a no, right? And then G, gain. Like, what's the real outcome that this is really going to create? It's kind of more movement, but it's really not meaning for me. Yes, it's going to be meaningful for others. And I'm not denying that what they wanted me to do is going to be very helpful, but it's only one strong yes so far. So we're not getting there. And then next, what's the next tiny aligned step? Well, saying no with clarity and kindness. Like what they wanted me to do. Could I do it? Yes. Just because I'm able to do something doesn't mean that I'm supposed to do things. So even though it's good things may come along. They're not always aligned. They might not be good for you. So that's how I apply the audit filter to my scenario. 7 levels of why. How would I apply that to this scenario? Well, okay, here we go. So if I say yes to this scenario, why did I say yes? Well, because they asked me. And why did that matter? Well, because I wanted to be helpful. Well, why did you want to be helpful? Because I didn't want them to feel unsupported. Huh, really? Okay. So why did that matter? Well, I kind of feel responsible, for helping and supporting others. And why do you feel responsible? Well, that responsibility feels like proof that I'm adding value, right? Really? And why do you need proof that you're adding value like that? I don't always give myself permission to rest. So like me, value, it's almost like, what is it? Like on an airplane, you got to take care of yourself, put your oxygen mask on self first before you can be helpful for others. So me expending all my energy and all my time for someone else is not really adding value to them, because sometimes I'm taking on more when someone should be doing more themselves, but I'm also not valuing myself. Because every time I say yes to someone else, I'm really saying no to myself too. And so it's important for us to have a good balance and a healthy balance in what we're doing, because a false balance, that's an abomination. And so we don't want to do that. And so why don't I always give myself permission to rest? Because deep down, I sometimes feel my no will disappoint someone. So I just asked myself this question like 7 times. And at the end of the day, you see how quickly alignment turns into approval seeking, because I have to check my motives and intent. Because at the end of the day, as much as I kept unlayering the onion, I got to the point of I didn't want to disappoint someone else. If I'm disappointing myself, I'm still disappointing someone. Very important. 7 levels of why. Ask yourself those questions. And lastly, the pie in this example. Why am I doing this at all? Well, I shouldn't be doing it because my purpose for the month is clarity, peace, and an easy schedule. So it doesn't align with that. So I'm not doing that. What outcome do I want this to produce? Well, for me, I need to protect my time. I need to protect my soul. I need to protect my spirit. So my pie tells me that taking on this other responsibility is not a good thing. And then energy, it's draining me. It would drain me to do what they're asking me to do. Could I make it happen with a good cup of coffee? I probably could, but is it really, really supporting me in the long run? And it's not. So the sweet thing, pie, for me to do in this portion is to just say no. As hard as it is, and as challenging and as difficult as it is, I just have to say no. So I'm going to ask you, which of these 3 tools do you feel is most helpful for you in your process, right? Is it the audit tool? Is it the 7 levels of why? Or is it the pie? Which could you see that you could most likely be utilizing in your life practice, and that would help you in what you are doing, right? Right? So what are the next steps? I hope that something I've said has shifted your energy and awakened your potential in this process, because at the end of the day, I'm a person of value who values others, meaning I value you, and I always want to add value to people. And so hopefully something I've said or expressed has been helpful to you. So here we go. In our remaining minutes, your next steps. You have an action item this week. Yep, you come to my talk and I give you homework. So you have an action item this week, and then you have the 5-day alignment reset. And then you have PH Academy. You can consider PH Academy membership. And so here we are. For this week, your homework is to pick one area of your life where you've been busy. Yep, you've been busy. You've been burdened under someone's yoke. And run it through the alignment filter and see what you come up with. You come up with a green light, a yellow light, or a red light. And so that's your assignment for this week. Take a busy thing you're currently doing and run it through the alignment filter. The second thing is to review the 5 small realignments that bring your intentions back into focus. So I've created a resource, a tool. It is available to you if you go to either scan that QR code or go to offers.paulahollis.com/align reset. And so if you go to that website, you'll be able to select that tool. You can either get it via email drip, or you can actually just get the full tool yourself. It's very helpful, and it will step you through 5 ways to realign. It's a 5-day realignment assessment. And then lastly, PH Academy. Like all I've shared, this is only a smidgen of all the different things that we offer within the PH Academy. And so it would be my sheer pleasure if you would come on board as one of our learners and participants. You could either be an online learner or you could be like a digital or workbook learner. We have different ways of learning at the Academy because different people learn by different ways. And so you can explore that QR code or go to grow.phacademy.vip and look at our different offerings. And you may want to consider, like I said, this year was live in 25. We're finishing out that year. And next year, we are doing root in 26. We're going to dig deep and look at our roots, where we're going to reflect, we're going to order, we're going to own, and then ultimately we will thrive. And so I thank you so much for having your lunch and learn with me. Like I said, I hope something I've said has shifted your energy, awakened your potential. By all means, please feel free to, contact me, reach out to me. And I would love to get your feedback. Drop me a message or an email and tell me how you feel about what you experienced here. I do have a feedback form, and I don't think I attached it here. So that's my mistake. I can't get feedback if I don't give you the form, but perhaps I may, if you reply to me, I may just ask you for feedback. If not, that's fine too. But like I said, I hope this has been helpful to you. Stay aligned, not busy. And so hopefully you'll join us next month for the Titration Talks. Again, they are every second Friday of the month at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And next month, we are talking about pause, pivot, and press on, as we will be at the intersection of evaluating our momentum. So thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys have a great day and take care.